The year was 2470, according to a calendar long forgotten, and a nuclear wind blew across the bleached dead horizon. A pitiless sun burned high up in the white sky, and there was a faint smell of chlorine in the wind. A solitary figure on horseback slowly made his way across the wasteland, sitting high on his saddle, sweat pouring down his sunburnt cheeks. He was clad in steel armor that would have flashed and shone with every move he made. Now it was blackened and dusty. In his left hand he held aloft a heraldic banner, and on his waist he carried an ornate longsword with a large ruby in the pommel. It had been days since either the knight or his horse had either food or water, and beneath his legs he felt the creature stumble and buckle. If he did not reach his destination soon, it would die, and a few hours later, so would he. It was too late to turn back, and besides, his chivalric code would not allow him to display such cowardice. He was a man of honor, after all. He bent down and patted his horse, grimly spurring on the dying animal, noticing how weak it was, how its ribs protruded from its side, how its lips were encrusted with dry foam, how its breaths were coming in short, painful gasps, and he wondered if he was faring any better. Surely the citadel couldn't be much farther, could it? He thought back to the carnage from which he had come, and felt a pain deep inside his chest. His voice came, a dehydrated hiss.
My son.
A single, lonely tear slid down his dirt-encrusted face. The Two and the Many. The murmur from the engines died slowly away. The only sound left was the slow crackling of flame. A man stood in the wreckage, a 6-foot silhouette. Slowly he made his way through the rubble, rifle out, until he heard the faintest of sounds from the corner of the room. The man quietly stepped around the cot and lowered his weapon. There lay a baby. It wasn't crying, but gurgling in an inquisitive way. It was enveloped in a faint, shimmering bubble of light that the flames couldn't penetrate. The man bent down and picked up the child.
Hush, hush now,
he said as he stroked one of its delicate hairs from its eyes.
Orwig's going to take you to a safe place.
And with that, he left the ruins, and another engine roared away from the building towards the setting sun. Finally, the horse could take no more, and it stumbled a final time, let out a last whinny, and fell, dead, into the dust. The knight was sent tumbling out of his saddle, and he lay on the ground, lacking the energy to rise, conceding defeat. He closed his eyes and waited for death to come. When he opened them, he found himself in the shadow of a man on horseback. Approaching hoofbeats advertised the arrival of another. With superhuman effort, he raised himself to a sitting position and regarded his rescuers. They all wore grubby cloth gambesons and drawstring trousers, as well as patchy leather cavalry boots. Rather than swords or lances, they carried bolt-action carbines, and instead of a full suit of shining plate armor, they wore grimy chainmail cuirasses. On each of their heads they wore wide-brimmed kettle helmets. Their leader had a scarred, pitted, rat-like face and was chewing on a blade of straw. Flies buzzed around his head. They were yeoman riders, peasant cavalry out on patrol. Not nobility, but they were on his side. Not the others. Everything went black as he fainted with relief. The train car squealed in protest as it shot through the tunnels underground. Sparks danced from the tracks menacingly, and Ford laughed uproariously from his carriage. He slammed on the brakes and changed down a gear. The car screeched to a halt. Ford hopped back into the main carriage of the cart and pulled open the door. As Orwick exited, slightly shaken, he caught the man's arm. They exchanged a look and Orwick walked out. Ford hopped back in and cut out the engine, waiting. Orwick looked ahead. Sheets of corrugated iron were screwed from the ceiling to the floor all along the train station. A smell of meat cooking came from the inside. Orwick walked in, stooping under the doorframe, a bundle tightly wrapped in his free arm.
Jonas!
He roared as the man of the same name came bounding in through the kitchen.
Orwick! What are you...
I need you to do me a favour.
Orwick cut him off curtly.
Look after this child for me.
Far, far above, the world was spread below like a child's playmat, reflected in a great glass lens that rotated and focused with a small buzzing noise, fixing on a small patch of burning land in what was once Europe. The great mass that it belonged to was satisfied. The prophecy was starting to unfold.